This conference will now be
You
recorded.
if you are using only desktop, your desktop never had that feature. When you
Okay.
had connected to the server through the desktop, you were actually working on the server through the desktop. So that is when you might have seen the streams. But otherwise, by default, desktop never had streams. So
Okay. Okay.
stream is only used in the server level to publish information.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So
So today we are what covering?
yeah. So just to you understand why we use QVDs, right? And
Right.
QVD architectures. Today we'll
Okay.
connect to data and understand how we can create QVDs and what this architecture is. I spoke to you about yesterday about layers,
Yeah.
right? So we'll look at the first part of the story. How do you create QVDs? So what I can do is I can create a new app. I can say, so what generally I do is, so in Qlik Sense, there's nothing within Qlik Sense, you can't create folders. So whatever you create is stored in a central folder. So I generally follow a good naming convention. So what I do is, this is, I have kept it as, so I'll say 656 Adventure Works Extractor. So I try to name it basis what I want all the files to be like. So
Okay.
now this, in this overall scheme of things, right? So what one thing you need to understand is QVDs can be created and read only by QVF files. So at this point of time, no third-party application can create QVDs. You can create QVDs only by a by using Qlik Sense. So how do we create it? So ideally, we use a extractor file, which is nothing but a QVF. So here, a QVF will sit, right? So that would extract file and store it to QVDs. Then again, one more QVF will create aggregations, right? For everything, you need to use a QVF. So yesterday I told you, right?
Right.
Anything and everything you do is done in a QVF file. So you need to have a QVF file to be able to create these QVDs. So that is what I am creating. That is called as extractor. So what we generally do is we call this as extractor. This one
Okay.
as transformation. And of course, the final thing we call it as app, final app. So this, all these final app, we name it as app. So extractor first step to extract data. So let's say open. Now there are two ways of creating working with Qlik, right? So one is, yesterday I was explaining, one is completely wizard based, another is script based. When I go to wizard, I can go to a database, I can fetch the information and work with it. Interesting is the script base. So let's look at the script base. So I'll click on script base. It will take me to the scripting process. We will see during the when we do the when we start working on the wizard based, you will understand whatever you do in the wizard, a script will be generated automatically. So the first thing that we need to do is connect to the database. This is called as a script editor. So you see here, it is called as data load editor. There is data manager. Data manager is nothing but wizard based. Data load editor is scripting. In the script, first section you see is main. So on the left hand side, you see these as sections. You can add multiple sections.
Okay.
Right. So here I will say order. You can add. The first section, these are environment variables. What do I mean by these? The entire data set within your application. So this extractor file, though it does not make sense in an extractor file, in a front-end application, right? In any Qlik Sense application, you can control certain features. For example, 1000 separator. is a comma. So in India it is comma, but in Europe, 1,000 separator is a decimal point. So if you know, and decimal point is a comma. So if you are working for any European project, you want to represent information like how they do it in Europe, then you can replace this. So you can change this 1,000 separator to dot and decimal to comma. So in your front end application, all the information would be displayed by using this environment variable feature.
Okay, and we can set our own variables over here, right?
Yes. Yes, you can set your own variables. Right? For
Same
example,
like that,
money format.
which mentioned over here. Yeah.
Sorry.
Same
Yeah,
like
go.
that, which currently I am seeing on the screen, right?
Right. Right. So these are set. These are environment. As we go through scripting, you'll learn how to define our own variables and use those variables. We'll come to that. So these are environment variables. You can do that. Now in this scripting process, you see this. It has around 20 lines. I can write a big script in one page. Right. So this is my entire single page. I can write the entire script in this page. Right. So no matter, there is no restriction how many lines I can write. There is no restriction how much I can, how much script, how big the script can. But as a developer, right, it is always good practice to create sections. Now sections are like to categorize the script. So I can say customer, product. Right. What does this do? What as a best practice is, you put the respective scripting in this respective section, and all of these things will start like one single script. It will start from here and work consecutively. You can't run any one, right? So if you say I just want to run product, you can't do that. So whatever is there in these 4 pages would be run like imagine like a single script. Rather than having that in a single page, you have just split it into multiple sections so that it is better to manage. So the next step is connecting to DB. Right. Last time we were looking at the wizard, how we can connect. So here in scripting, first we need to create a connection. For example, I need to create a connection. So I will click on create connection. Then I select which database or which data source I want to connect to. I give the details and I connect. What happens is a database connection is created. You see this SQL Server product is created. Now, once it is created, you have 3 options. One, if I click on the first option, it will just add a link. So in Qlik scripting, right, the way we connect to connections is using library connections. So these are called as data connections. The idea is these data connections are centrally managed on the server. So once you create, right, as a developer, you can share it with other users so that not everybody have to recreate this server. Or what they can do is they can create all required database connections centrally and share it to the developers. So maybe your team in US is creating all those connections and giving it to you. So they won't allow you to create any connection, or you don't have to struggle to do that. Now, so here, one is you can just put library connect to SQL Server and start writing your script. So for example, if you want to write, you last time I think you spoke to me about, you can say select star from if you know the table name.
Yeah.
Basically in this database, whatever table name you know, you can write, but you can't just say select star. So the keyword is SQL. You need to give the keyword called SQL, and after that you can write any database native script. For example, what I mean is SQL has nothing. SQL is just a keyword. If you're connecting to Oracle, this script should be Oracle native. If you're connecting to any other Teradata or any other database, this script should be native to that database. SQL is just a keyword. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. So one method is this, but you don't have to struggle. So they have made it easier in Qlik Sense. You see the second option. When you click on this, it will give you a pop-up. So basically what it does is it connects to the database and lists out all the available databases, schemas, and the tables. For example, it is showing me the database. Within the database, it is telling me which are the schemas. So I want the sales schema. I can pick that up. And within sales schema, it will show me all the available tables. So in this scenario, I will click on sales order detail. It will show me the metadata for this sales order detail and show me the information. Now what I can do is, next to the sales order detail, I have a check mark. If I select this, all the fields in that table would be selected. So it is up to you how many fields you want to bring in. For example, I want to bring specific field. I can uncheck that everything and only select what is needed. And in the bottom, you can actually observe the script is being generated. So you don't have to sit and write scripts to connect. Right? One interesting.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. So
No worries.
if I need to we have already created the connection, right? If I need to add any table manually, so we can do that also, right? No need to
Yes,
go.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. What I'm telling is, see, these are the things to avoid that manual challenge. In a normal querying mechanism, you run through a lot of manual writing challenges. First, you need to know the database, tables, field names, everything accurately. So here it is made, yeah, it is much easier for you to do it. But yes, you can do that. Now, if I look at it, so it is load. Uh, it is also generating the SQL script that I needed to load. For now, I will select this overall sales order detail. Now I have all the fields. You can also filter data. For example, so I have special offer ID, right? So over here, I can say filter. I can say special offer ID is equal to 2. If you're in doubt, you can just copy the field from here and apply it here. So you can say apply. It will apply and it will tell you. So the filtered records are 3,000 records out of the 1,21,000 records in the database. So when you filter data. So now when you do this, automatically the where clause is applied. So you see here. So the idea is this wizard helps you create that script without having to struggle. So automatically updates the entire script for you. So now, okay, what I'll do
So
is I'll
if
just
I
clear
need
the
to
filter.
add multiple filters, then I need to just write down on that.
Comma. Yes,
Yeah. Okay. Comma.
you can just use comma and write it down. Now I'll insert. See, when I use this table selection field, it will automatically insert a connection also, connection name. So without a connection name, this script is no use. For example, I delete these. This script has no meaning. It won't execute. So it has to have a connection name. So now the connection name is there. Using that connection name, what I'm telling Qlik, connect to SQL Server and then pick up this table. Okay. So this is the actual native SQL script that is being generated. So if you have a stored procedure or a predefined SQL script, right? So where you're doing a lot of processing, after this SQL statement, you can give that script. So what will happen is that script would be executed on the SQL server and you would get the final resultant table within Qlik. So one
Okay.
thing you have to observe is whatever you write after a SQL statement is pushed to the database. So this script is processed on the database server. So the simpler the script, the faster you will retrieve data from database. The complex the script over here, that is that much time the database would take to process it and give the data back. So generally, when we run into challenges of speed, performance, right? I have seen this issue where people write complex SQL scripts here. Right, a simple join will also take a lot of time to be processed on the database. So when it is being processed on the database, then the resultant table will be delayed.
Okay. So the best practice is to first of all write the view or procedure on the SQL server and just take that table over here, right?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay.
All right. Now what we also have is in the script, if you observe, so it wrote SQL script, then by default it added some extra script over here. So let me remove this. So what this will work, right? So what this will do is it will connect to SQL server, bring in the data. Now in Qlik we call this as preceding load, right? So in
Okay.
Qlik, just to give you a heads up, we have different kinds of loads. One is our SQL load, SQL statement, right? Keyword, SQL keyword. So this is basically connect to database and fetch data. Then we have normal load. Normal load is connect to any QVD and QVD or flat file and load data. This normal load is native Qlik Sense load or Qlik Sense scripting. It's nothing but modified SQL.
Okay.
Okay. So this load statement we use to create to load data from any QED flat file and bring in data. SQL will load it from the database. Now there are certain other loading capabilities. For example, there is preceding load. Then there is
Then what is the
resident.
difference between the preceding and the SQL? Because in both of scenario we are loading the data from the SQL, right?
I'll tell you. So
Okay.
okay. So we have SQL normal load, we have preceding load, we have resident load, right? And we have inline. Right? Inline is hard-coded data. There is no source.
Okay.
Okay. Preceding is SQL subquery.
Yeah, I know.
Basically, how it works is, so you say that okay, select customers from, instead of writing a table name, you again give a query, right? You say okay, select customers from. Again, in that after from, you give a subquery telling that select customers
Something else
from
also.
table
Yeah.
XYZ, something else. So this
Yeah.
result will be a source for the other result. That is preceding load.
Okay.
So basically,
Okay.
you can query the
Query under query
query
called
a load
preceding.
statement, right?
Okay.
Load statement. So this is exactly what is happening over here. So you asked, right? You're right.
Okay.
Ultimately, this is resulting in this SQL data. So whatever this SQL table is giving, this is a result. This will give me that sales order detail. But if you observe here, there's a semicolon over here. It ends over here, but there is no from statement. So this load
Yeah.
has fields, but it does not have from. So basically, this load statement will query this result of this statement. You might ask, what is the requirement? You're right. I don't need this. So I can go like this. I can very well load the data and store it into QED. But what happens
Okay.
is, imagine you want to do any transformation or any changes in data. For example, simple alias is still okay. You can do it in SQL. Maybe you want to multiply unit price and unit discount. Now, if
Okay.
I write in a SQL statement, like I said, this script is pushed onto the SQL server. So if I write anything here, would be processed on the server, which is time, which can delay the processing. So what we do is we connect to the SQL server, bring in the raw data from sales order detail, then we process whatever we want within the Qlik server. So that is why, as of now, this script has no meaning, but it will have meaning when you want to do any processing. For example, I can say unit price into unit price discount, or I can say minus discount as actual unit price. So this will get processed. So this is a way of doing a subquery in Qlik. So don't draw a parallel to subquery, but I just use that concept to explain. But the idea is you can query the existing data within the application so that you can process it. So
Okay.
now what
So,
happens?
yep.
There is a
So,
performance advantage.
yeah,
Your
I have
SQL script,
yeah,
plain script.
one question. Sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry. I have one question. Uh, you just write down over here unit price minus unit price discount as actual unit price, right? So whatever you make aggregation on the above query, it will show in the data while loading in QVF file, right?
Yeah. Now the final table of this would be all the fields plus this field, the result of this query.
Okay,
So
so
let's see.
we don't require the put same calculation below in SQL also, right?
No, it does not. Yeah, no.
Okay,
That's why I use the subquery concept. That's the idea, right? So
okay.
in the subquery, I can query the result of this table. In this
Mm-hmm.
table, I have all the columns. I can query those columns plus process those columns. See, though it
Okay.
is a single statement, it is written,
Mhm.
it is processing twice. One, it will push it to SQL Server. The moment it got data, it is doing it over here.
Okay. And one more question: if we remove the upper part of load, then if we run the same SQL and load the data, it shows the data in the
Yes,
fields. Yeah.
correct. So let's test it out, right? So I am loading SQL Server. If I load now, so what Qlik does is it will connect to the server and load data. So I use the load button on the top right hand corner. It now
Mm-hmm.
connected to the server. It said, okay, 1,21,000 records have been fetched.
Mm-hmm.
Creation successfully. Now what basically it has done is, so we have something called as data model viewer. So I can go here. This will tell me how many tables are there in my entire data model. So when we say data model in a QVF, you load, so that's the final verdict. But in the extractor, it does not make sense. In extractor, I'll tell you what we'll be doing. Now you saw this. What Qlik
Yeah.
also does, it takes the source table name as a table name. Over here
Mm-hmm.
within Qlik also, there's every table has a name. So this table has a name of sales order detail because the source table name is sales order detail.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Now that we have, so you saw this, right? Does
Yeah.
not make any sense difference. And let me
Mm-hmm.
add the previous script. I'll not add this. I'll take this off for now. I will load. It will still be the same thing. It is basically processing one SQL server, connecting to the fetched 1,21,000 records. If I go to my data model viewer, it is the same thing. I have the same table. I have all the fields. Now let me add field. I load. Same thing. It will again fetch 1,21,000. So you remember our concept of full load, right? So QVF file
Yeah.
will never do incremental. It will always do full load. So it truncated old data, loaded new data. Now in my data model viewer, in the table, I'll have a new field called actual unit price.
Unit price.
Yeah. You can select this table. In the bottom, you have preview. You can see the data in the table and certain key parameters of the table. How much is the density, has duplicates, cardinality, right? And the
So
data
what
set.
is this the actual unit? Acha. Okay. Okay. That is the segregation by the parameters. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The actual unit price is what I calculated, right? It's a calculated.
Mm-hmm.
This one is showing for whichever field I'm selecting, it is showing me the information,
Okay.
product ID. Yeah. So this is called as preceding load. And of course, you can do a lot of other things. During our scripting, you'll see. So extraction process, you don't do much. So we are in the first stage of our project, right? So the first stage of project is you don't do anything here. If I have one table, I'll just create one QVD for the table.
Okay.
So generally what I do is I create a project folder. For example, I'll say adventure works. In this project folder, I'll create all the required folders for me to manage them. First thing is I'll say QVD. So second, if I just want any data files, so I'll just create a structure, blank structure, AdventureWorks. In that I will create QVD. Now this is the place where I will store my project QVDs. So what I did was, first I connected to the server, fetch the data. Now I need to create QVD. So the purpose of this file is to extract and store it into QVD. So what I can say is store. I need to give a table name. So table name over here, like I said, right? It is the source table name which is being applied to this table. Now you say, no, I don't want to I don't want Qlik to use the source database name or table name. You can always add a custom table name. For example, I can just say sales order detail. Right? And if I use colon, after that, whatever I write would be under table say SOD. So this is how you can define a custom table name within Qlik. So now when I load this, let me comment the store. It will load data under SOD. So you see here, it is telling SOD.
Okay. SOD.
Yeah. And my table name would be SOD. Right? It's a custom table name. So you can create a custom table name. Now, store is a very simple process. All you have to do is you have to say store SOD into. Okay. Now this is the tricky part. I wouldn't say tricky part. If you consider, like, come from ClickView background, previous generation product of Qlik, it was easy that I just had to write the path name. But in Qlik, everything works with the database connection. You can run in a legacy mode and give a direct path over here, but that is not preferred. The best practice is always use database connection. Okay, not database connection, connections. Connection can be to a folder, to be a database, to any source. So in this scenario, first let me create a connection to my QVD folder. So this folder I created, right, QVD 656. So I will create a connection folder, and I will give the folder name as 656 QVDs. So now what will happen? This would create a connection. Basically, I need to use that connection over here. Okay, there is one trick that I use. Okay, and so it is hard to write the library connection. So I don't know how, there is a syntax I don't always recall. So what I do is, it's just a small trick. I just create a dummy text file. Okay, nothing, a blank file. Then I just go in here. I don't write where I have to write the script. I will, this selection option, insert select data. When I click, it will show me the folder and all the files within the folder. I'll select this file. It'll just give me some random information. There's no field, no data, right? So it is just giving me some dummy thing. I'll just say insert. Now what I do is, I get the script, right? I say from whatever text file. So the only statement I need from this entire script is this from statement. Then I delete all the Excel or unwanted information. Now I don't even need from, I just need this library connection. So I say store SOD into live connection, this QVD folder. The folder is basically the connection name. And then I can say sales, either I can give full name. So here, for better representation and management, I prefer giving complete names. I'll say sales order ID, not text, I'll say QVD. So it's a very simple statement. It is store the table name into the path and the file name that I want to store. So in this scenario, the path is defined by library connection. So advantage of using library connection is, tomorrow your path changes, right? You don't have to do any change the script. All you have to do change is in the database connection. You can edit this and change the path over here. So it becomes easier for you to manage the library connection centrally.
Okay.
I hope you
So
didn't get confused with the additional step,
no,
right? That
I
additional
didn't.
step has,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just one question over here. You write down that store SOD into, then open the bracket and then lib colon backslash. What is this called for lib underscore colon backslash? Because the path is not full, right? You it's only saying that library lib means library, right?
Yeah, that's what I was explaining. Library
Okay.
is in Qlik, everything works through library connections. You can't directly write the path, so you need to create a connection. So I created a connection here. I
Okay.
created this connection, right? 656 Adventure Works. What is there? If I edit this, it will show you this connection is for this path.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm storing in that library connection. So the library connection is that path. In that path, I'm storing this file name.
Okay.
No, yeah. I mean, does it make sense to you or?
No, it makes sense to me. Uh, so one question over here: when you click the when you create the path and put the some names over there, so that's create a folder or something else on that location, which you have
No, no.
mentioned in
So, so
while
first,
creating.
first I created a folder, right? So I
Right.
created manually a folder. Then I created a connection to the folder. In that folder, I'm just storing a file. So when I hit load, so let us do that. When I hit load, it will connect to the SQL server, fetch the data. If I have
Mm,
applied any transformation, it will do it. It does not show that it is saved the data. When I close it, go to the folder. So this is how the QVD would be generated. So in that
okay.
folder, sales order
So
detail dot QVD.
first time it will create, and from going forward, then just this tool is storing the data in this, right?
Yeah, first time it will create. Okay, so
Mm,
every time I reload, it basically replaces this QED. So I hit that reload, it will load the data and store the QED. So when it stores, right, it replaces the old file. So now you're seeing the
okay.
file stamp is 1007. When I
Hmm.
hit load, it will change the time. Okay, there's not much of a time difference, so it is still 1007 only. So the idea
Okay.
is it will replace the QED. So if your question is how does incremental work, that is different concept. We'll discuss when we get there. But the basic
Okay.
concept is this QED is overridden with the new QED. So every time I
Okay.
hit load, the new QED would be saved.
Hmm. Okay.
Right. So we create these QEDs. So now I have multiple QEDs. I mean, the idea is I did it for sales order detail. So I want to do for more data. So what I will have to do is go to the SQL server, select sales. Let me do it for header. Insert. See, this is one aspect, right? What I can do is, along with sales order header, I can also create for customer. So in the same page, I can write the script. For example, if I insert, see, sales order header is also inserted, customer table is also inserted for this library connection. But like I said, I have a different section for customer. So either you can
Hmm.
cut and paste here, or you don't have to load customer here. You could do it again over there. Now, what I have is I have all the sales order tables here in this section, customer table in this section. Similarly, I can go to product, select product table from the product schema. So what happens
Okay.
tomorrow if there is any challenge, right? Somebody says that, okay, products, not all products are not visible. There's some problem with product. So you can quickly go to the product section and check all the product related tables. That is the advantage of having sections. So now I have
Okay.
all the product related tables. Now, whenever I'm connecting, go ahead.
Yeah. So one more question on this part. What I saw that whenever you putting tables in customer or product, every time you are mentioning the connection on the top. So it's required for every time we need to put the connection string
Yeah,
before the table
okay,
every time.
exactly. All right. No, I was coming to that. So that is one thing that I was
Okay.
explaining. See, now I have given this
Mhm.
live connect over here. It has sales order detail, sales order header, and then subsequent it has the scripts, right? Now this and all these three tabs or sections are considered as one whole script. So you need not mention this live connect, but by default, whenever you use that data connection option to bring in data, it by default adds that script, adds the connection. So you can choose, you don't have to mention this connection, and you can comment out this connection or delete this connection. Now what will happen? In the first tab, this connection will open for the SQL server. It will fetch these tables, go to customer, fetch this table, go to product, fetch this table. Now at product, if you think, no, it is not, this is not the connection, I need to use a different database connection, then I'll have to uncheck this. So
Okay.
you're right, I don't have to mention it every time. Once I connect to the SQL server, that connection is open till the end of the script. So I can use that connection to call any table.
Okay. Got it.
Now, this is the manual process of Qlik, right? So you need to do this manually every time. So I'll have to
Hmm.
take the table names and write the store command for every table manually. Here we are not doing anything, no aggregation, no processing. The
See.
only idea
Yeah.
is first one-to-one create a QVD.
Mhm.
Yeah. As you progress, there are certain advanced scripts to automate storage of QVDs. And I think Qlik themselves are trying to see if they can bring in some capability around automating this storage of, when I say automating, this manual process, right? Currently, you have to write this manual process.
Can we debug in this?
Yeah, we can do that. I'll show that.
Okay.
So now I've written this all store commands. Let me hit load. So let's see what happens. Yeah, ignore these, whatever you're seeing now, yellow lines. I have a,
Okay.
I mean, there's a specific session to that. We'll discuss around that. Those are called as synthetic keys. Now what is
Okay.
happening? I have loaded all the tables and all
Mm-hmm.
the tables are getting stored into QVDs. Right? So if you see here, customer QVD,
But
product category, subcategory, territory, all QVDs are created. Right? So now what also is happening is this extractor file, right? This extractor file is like a QVF. What the thing that we discussed about QVF is it will always contain data. Though it is
right.
processing the script only to store QVDs, I'm storing QVDs. When I'm loading it, right, this QVD, this QVF is loading the data and having the data within the application. Because we have not optimized it or we have not worked on the script, you're seeing these as synthetic keys. So we'll debug this or understand this in the subsequent sessions. I'll just abort it for now, right? So the the main of the main property of a QVF file is it will always have data in it. So when I'm loading this, this table remains in the file. The data for this table would remain in the file. Now imagine if I'm loading like a million records, then this file, extractor file, will be a very huge file, which does not make sense. That is why I
Mm.
don't need to have data in this. I just want to extract the data, store it into a QVD, and drop the data. So we have a keyword called as drop table. It's not only here that you use it at multiple places. The idea is when you want to drop a table from memory, from the script, you don't need this table. You just want to drop it. So you can say drop table, SOD, then sales order header. Of course, you can write one drop table statement. So instead of table is singular, you can say drop tables and give multiple tables using comma. So I can say
Okay.
sales order header, comma, multiple tables. But as a best practice during extraction is put a drop table after every time you load. So what will happen? This table will be extracted, stored, dropped. So now your file is blank. Your memory consumption is 0. Then again it will load this table, store, drop. Again your app will be blank and your memory consumption will become 0. If you don't drop it right after usage, then it keeps on adding the data into memory and your processing will become high, your RAM will become high.
Okay.
Okay, so this is one manual work that we always end up doing is writing this drop statements right after every script. I'll also add a territory section. These are the tables that we would be using for our further development. So as a project thought process, these are the tables that I need. So what I can do is I can pick up them. The only thing you have to take care is the names, right? So if you name a same QVD with the table, for example, I put sales territory ID, but the QVD name is similar to product, then it will override the product table. So you will never be able to figure out why your data is wrong. So these are the
Okay.
first things that I check. So once I have done this, when I hit load, my entire script is processed and I will have the data information into the server. This is forcing me to give the table name.
So it is mandatory that every time we need to be
I
give the.
think when I'm dropping the tables, there's nothing, yeah,
Okay.
which was not the case earlier. If from the time I've been doing development, it was not mandatory. But yeah, as a best practice, just give a table name.
Okay.
Now it's loaded successfully. So I have all my QVDs in my data model viewer. Last time I showed, right? there's no tables. That's why it says not allowed. There are no tables loaded in this particular app. So only this app now became a extractor app. What it meant, I had certain amount of tables. Those amount of tables were extracted and one-to-one QVDs created.
Okay, so if we extract data directly from the SQL, then it only show the tables in data modeler, right?
No, it will show the tables when I don't use the drop statement. I have dropped the tables,
Okay,
right? That's why it is not showing in the
okay,
data
it's not
model.
showing. Okay, 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 okay.
Yeah. It will
Got it.
show only when I when I don't drop the tables.
Okay. So now it's in the QVD. So sorry. So now the data is the in memory, or it's
Yeah.
what I say.
So
So
this
data
QVF,
present, but not in memory, or what I can say that.
correct. So this 656 adventure work extractor is in memory. The app is in
Okay.
memory. When I
Okay.
load the data, it is in memory. When I
Mm-hmm.
store the data, it gets stored into QED on a folder,
Folder,
but the
right?
data would still be in memory. When I drop the data, then nothing is in memory. So it is just
Okay.
stored into QED.
Okay.
That is
So
why
when
we
we
drop,
design, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that is why we
So
use drop statement so that the memory does not get bloated.
okay. So when we going forward to design some visualization, so there we can get the data through the QED file, right?
Yes, the second step is we use the data from QED. You're right. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Got it.
Okay. Okay. So so this is the first step in our entire project, right? So we create this first level of scripting where I have done this. See this second layer, right? Layer 2, layer 3, it wouldn't make
Mhm.
sense if I talk now because I think there's a lot more in scripting that we need to understand first so that then you
Mhm.
run this. So the concept is same. I will create a new app called Extractor Work. I would say Adventure Work Transformation 1. In that, I will load data from QED, write the script to process it, and then store it back again into a separate QED, which will be the layer 2 QED. So I will come to this when after completing the scripting process. In scripting, there are keywords you need to understand, right? So once you get that, then we'll be able to create these layers. So we'll cover these layers then. One other aspect that is now I have loaded order, customer, product, territory. This is a sequential load. So if I execute this, what I will do is I will schedule AdventureWorks extractor for a periodic extraction, maybe every 6 hours. So every 6 hours, it will go in a sequence way. It will first load orders, then customer, then product, then territory. So in a scenario where you have billions of records, right, or even for that matter of fact, millions of records, it definitely takes time. What I mean is, if you start at 9 a.m., maybe orders might end up taking loading at 9:20 a.m. So customer will run only after 9:20 a.m. Customer might take another 10 minutes, so product will run only at 9:40 a.m. So this script might be running over a period of time. Like let's assume it takes 45 minutes. First orders,
Mhm.
then customer, then product, then territory. But sometimes you might get into a business use case telling, okay, I can't wait 45 minutes to get territory ID uploaded or extracted. I want everything, all the tables to be extracted within 10 minutes. Of course, you can't do anything in this app. The only way you do is you split it into 4 apps. You split orders into one app. Right now, I'm using one extractor file. You can create 4 extractor files, create script, move the script for orders in that app, customer one app, product one app, territory one app. Now, what you can do is you
Okay.
can set all of those 4 apps to run parallelly rather than sequentially. The point that I'm trying to tell is in one app, I can't have parallel loads. It is always going to be a sequential consecutive load. If you want parallel reloads or extracts, you need to have multiple apps.
Okay, so in that case, we need to be call that parallel apps in one of these scripts, right?
No, no, no. You don't call it. You just write those apps, and in the QMC, right? So you manage
Okay,
the task over there. You set up the task in QMC.
okay. So there I need to be make a scheduler when this extractor run, then on that basis, other app will be run, right? Like that.
Correct. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
So in QMC, the scheduler, there are multiple options. One is time-based trigger. So you can just say
Mm,
that, okay, extract all these files, run this app at 9 a.m., all apps. Or you can
mm,
say trigger based. So maybe you can say, okay, run this app at 9 a.m. Once this app is
mm,
successful, run the other apps. So you can create a dependent chain. Or third, you can call from an external API. So if there is any database event within your organization, you want to
mm.
reload a Qlik Sense app, you can always fire a query. I mean, no, when I say query, it is a API call that you can make to Qlik Sense and reload a app.
Okay.
Right. Your question was debugger. Yes, you see this bug on top. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can click here. So it will give you a debugger menu. Now debugger menu is one. If I load, so you have this play button, you have this step button. Right?
Okay.
So if I click on this step button, it's
Mm,
highlighting the script. So I need to continuously click on this step button. So what will happen is it will process record line by line so that I exactly
mm.
know what line is being processed. Here I get the output. So what is happening? I'll
Okay.
if you so output, the variables are over here. So what is happening to the variables? So is the value being passed right? So now for
Mm,
environment variables, it is default. Yes, it is right. But if you have created any other variables, it will show that. So I can go step by step,
okay.
right? If you want
Okay.
to do line by line understanding, if you just want to run everything, hit run. So it will
Okay.
execute the test script, right? Then what it will do is, while it will tell you here in the output what is happening, in the variable section, it will give you all the variable info. Right?
Mm,
Now I have executed this and this is done. Now what is happening is when I executed it, you saw it loaded all 1,21,000 records. Over here, it is loading 1,21,000 from sales order retail. This is
mm,
okay. It hardly took what 10 to 20 seconds for this to load. Now, when you get into development phase, you might have tables which have millions of records. Like I said, right? So if you have couple of
mm,
millions, if you want to extract, it might take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or even 30 minutes. As a developer, you write a script, you hit load, you can't wait for 30 minutes to confirm whether the script is right or wrong, right? So even to do that smoke test, it is difficult. You have to write where clause. Where clause will again limit your capability. The challenge with where clause is it will reduce the speed. So you will not exactly know how much time your script needs to run. So that is where you use
mm.
the debugger. Go to debugger. You have this limited load, right? So you can check this, then it will enable this option. Here you can say how many records you want to load for testing. I'll say just 10 records and I'll just hit this run button. It will load 10 records from all the tables, right? Of course, it
Great.
does not load the matching records. The idea is it
Mm,
will give you whether your script is working fine or not. So
fine
here,
or
if you
not.
see, it is loading only 10 records from every table.
Mm,
So that is why you can do a limited load. So we generally call this as debugger limited load. The idea is this allows us to do some smoke testing. First smoke testing is whether my script is right or wrong. Are there any failures? Second, I can load this to figure out are there any inconsistencies in data. Right. So over here in the extractor, not much of a help, but in an actual script where we write a lot of if conditions or you might use a lot of variables, so you want to be sure whether the values being passed to the variables are right, you can use the debugger.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the debugger part. Right. So
Today's session is quite impressive because I learned so many things,
yeah,
small things which I don't know. Yeah.
right, right. I think that is the whole idea. So
Mhm.
we'll work on this. So we worked on this, ODBC, right?
Yeah, I know the ODBC connection part.
Yeah.
But I like to see how we can extract data from the web pages or some another tools like Salesforce or so. Just I need to
Okay.
see that.
Okay, we can do that. Salesforce, I doubt. If you have a Salesforce environment, we can connect and test it because I don't have
I
a
have
Salesforce environment.
web version, but I'm not sure. I need to see that. Yeah.
Fine. Yeah. You just try it. Say what I would let is if you have any database, right, that you want to connect to, go ahead and try
Mm-hmm.
it. If you have face any challenge, let me know. The one point that I want to tell you is it is no different. See, whatever steps we did today is exactly same for all databases. So any data source that you are working with, all these
Mm-hmm.
steps are same. Or for example, the only step that changes is when I'm creating a connection. For example, I want to load data from Amazon Redshift. Only change is when I click on this, it will ask me for parameters. This is the only
Right.
difference between every connection. Once I've created the connection, the selection of table, scripting, everything is same. So
Okay.
for example, you wanted to load data from a web file. So I can use a web file. It is asking for a URL. Let's use this Wikipedia URL. Now in this URL, this is one table, right? This is a
Mm-hmm.
HTML file. This is one table.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are different tables, right? So this is one table. What I can do is I can give the URL. I can say create. This would have created an automotive. When I click here, now Qlik will connect to that HTML page and give me all the tables. Of course, the table names in that HTML page are not categorized, right? That's why it is
Mm-hmm.
giving me some random names. But over here, if you see here, if I click on first, it is giving me year, production, change, source. So basically, it is loading the first table, year,
Yeah,
production,
but
change, source.
change source. Okay.
Yeah. When I hit insert, so you see that it is create. Because this is not a
Mm.
database, you see a native load statement from whatever the library connection. The
Library.
library connection is basically to the SQ to the web page that I have. So
Okay.
this is the way. I mean, there's no much of a difference. A lot of people think, okay, I need to learn to connect to databases. There's nothing to learn to connect to databases. It is basically the
Mm-hmm.
same concept. You create a database connection. You just need to know the right parameters. So if I click on Salesforce, it will give me Salesforce parameters. So what is it asking for? Username, password.
Yeah, the password
Salesforce,
security.
yeah, you get a security token, so you can authorize
Mm.
that security token. You can give the URL. So generally, when you give security token, right, it has a URL also for Salesforce.
Right.
Then you can use bulk API, SOAP API. This is more towards Salesforce. Now these certain information, right, interface options, more than a Qlik developer, I wouldn't say that you need to know for every database connection. This is something where you collaborate with the actual database admins, right? If it is SQL
Right.
Server, you
They
check
just
with
provide
SQL.
the connection connectors and just we need to be add in our script
Correct.
and then start working on that. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about like, okay, do I know to connect to Salesforce? There's nothing you need to know about it. As a developer, only thing you need to get is the parameters from the actual administrators. They should give you, and you can do that. And everything is same, right? So, like for example, BigQuery, you have to do nothing. You just have to get those parameters, right? Authentication mechanism, and you need to get a key for this, if I'm right. A confirmation code. They will give it
Mm.
to you. The administrators can give it to you, and you update over here. Once you connect to any database, the selection of tables, scripting, everything is same as SQL Server. What we saw in SQL Server.
Okay. So can you share the that Excel file where you mention all the points, because I have
Okay, I'll
not
do,
that.
sure, I'll do that. No worries. Yeah, that's the idea. I'll share this.
Hmm.
Okay. Tomorrow we'll look at the other. We'll start working on the scripting part, associations, recommendations.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I will
All right.
practice whatever I today learn at my end, and if I have any questions, then I'll let you know tomorrow.
Sure, Manoj. Yeah. All right then. Thank you. We'll see you
Okay.
tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.